So my own interest is I would like to make a wood strip canoe. And I've been trying to do this since I was like 12 years old. I've always never had the space. So I'm hoping that'll be my first project once we get the Makerspace open, is to build a wood strip canoe. I've got all the materials, everything. I don't have any space to do it. So that's my goal. I mean, I'm interested in all the other stuff, you know. We've got 3D printers. We've got the latest and greatest Ender printer. We've got a Prusa already lined up. We've got two, CNC wood CNC machines from Millwright. One's a smaller model, and then we've got a 35-inch capacity one. We don't have the 8-foot one like the people out in Muskegon have, the shop bot, but we'll get there. Let's see what else. We've got a vinyl cutter. We've got some stuff to get the whole thing started. I noticed he was talking about ceramics. That seems to be a reoccurring thing that has come up in other forums that we've used on either Reddit or the original surveys that we put out. So I think that'll be part of it. The whole thing with fire is probably going to have to wait till like later into as the space develops. You know, as far as molten metal for casting and all that. Maybe we can do it out in the middle of the parking lot. Something along those lines. I'm sure there's going to be some objectives or objections to doing a forge inside the buildings right off the bat.
There's all sorts of airflow.
What's that?
There's probably all sorts of
airflow. I personally have visited the Flint Factory 2 Makerspace and the Lansing Makers Network, and I mean both of them have forges, so I think that's something that's going to be doable. The Fab Lab out in the Lakeshore Fab Lab, they do not do any metal at all, but I'd like to. I think there's a bit of interest in, you know, somebody had mentioned on one of the early surveys about building a dune buggy, and I think that would be cool. So we're going to keep that all in mind. Obviously, we're going to have to move in steps as we build this stuff up. We've got quite a bit of equipment already lined up for the space. We're still, like Luke has hinted that he's got maybe somebody who's willing to give us space. We've got a couple things that look like they may come to fruition. But I think by spring we should definitely know. So, then you want to go through the presentation right now?
Well, I can get to where we can freeze on these, and you can talk about them if you'd like to do it.
Sure.
I wasn't sure which way you want to go, so
Yeah.
I'll go over here and try that.
Well, because I totally forgot everything else you gave me. So there's been a lot of talk about memberships and about maybe having a tiered membership. We're trying to make it affordable for everybody, but it's kind of, you know, you gotta weigh. I mean, the more money we can raise, the quicker we can roll out equipment. So we're asking the individuals, you know, to determine where they fit in on the whole thing. So right now, as far as memberships go, this $10 supporting membership that we've got up there is basically saying, yes, I want to make your space. It's kind of a Kickstarter. Yes, I want to make your space. We want to be part of it, you know. And then the low, we're trying to, all these other tiers are, you know, still up for debate, but we're trying to make a tier that would be pretty economical, and then a top tier. I wish we would have put a slide in there with what the other maker spaces in the area are getting. Now, Fab Lab out, the Lakeshore Fab Lab, has a big advantage over us. They've got Muskegon Community College is basically providing them the space and equipment and everything. So that's something that, does anybody need to be let in? I forget how Google Meets works. But
I think they're getting on their own.
yeah, I think so too. Last time I had them let everybody in, that was kind of aggravating. So that's where we're still working with that part of it. So you want to go with the next slide there?
You want to talk about sequencing, or you want to talk about missions and such?
Yeah,
I can throw you on this one so you can talk about where we're
yeah.
at.
Well, so the sequencing, the red part is done. We're done with that part of it. The 60 days organizing, we're fine tuning, and we're marketing the thing. One of the things that we need to bring up is going to be the patronicity campaign, which Barry's got the details on that. So we're going to have Barry talk about patronicity here in a minute. The rally point, that's where we've got some positive feedback from the business community. And once we can show them that we've actually got something, working, I think we're doing all right on that. I'll let Barry talk more about the patronicity part of it and how that's going to work. And you already changed the slide on me.
Well, you were talking about rally. I want to know what we're doing for rally.
Yeah. So, we were in the Confluence. I don't know if anybody came. We had a lot of people stop by the Confluence booth. We were down there during Art Prize, and a lot of them were people who are already interested in the whole thing. We had a lot of people who were out of state that didn't say anything, listened to our whole spiel, and then said, "Oh, I live in Pittsburgh," so that wasn't helping us too much, but yeah, it gave us time to work on our spiel, I guess. So we're talking about having another meeting probably in January, mid-January, somewhere in there. And we would like to get like the heads of the departments or the subject matter experts for each area kind of set up in that next meeting. And then we're continuing to look for a space, which is the big thing right now. And then it's all going to be volunteer staffing for a time being. So that's all we've got there. Any board members got any comments on any of that?
Well, the space is going to be member owned anyway, because every member will be able to vote for the
Oh,
board.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we won't go over the history of makerspaces in Grand Rapids, because some of us already know enough, probably just want to forget about it. But this is going to be as democratically ran as possible, where the members are going to have the final say. But we don't want one person calling the shots like some previous place we may know about. But that's where we're headed right now.
You want to
Anything
go
else, Steve?
into funding or mission vision? Where do you want to go from here?
Let's go to mission vision. Cool. So what
That's
are,
not it.
we're back to vision.
There we go.
So we're looking to empower our community-led learning, incubation, creation at the intersection of tech, science, arts, and culture. As you can tell, our marketing guy came up with that. So, I mean, we're trying to cast a wide net. Maybe it's too wide at this time, but as it goes along, we're going to try to refine things. Obviously, we're going to start off with the simple stuff like the CNC, the 3D printers. We've got some woodworking equipment already, and then the big request we've had along the line, like every survey I have put out, has been a laser cutter. So that would probably be an early addition to what we've got going when we start raising money. Is this the same thing?
That's your vision.
Oh,
But we won't dive into all 4 pillars.
yeah,
They can read that on the website, which was freshly updated
yeah.
this weekend. So this is how that actually plays into something that we can do.
Right. So where do we go from here?
That's your big cube here.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have Barry talk about patronicity.
Thank you. All right, so a traditional makerspace is sort of like a pop-up market. I mean, people will assign a place and there's some equipment and you just hope people will come. Well, we want to be able to offer a community space that's going to be financially stable so that we can exist and operate and service our equipment and have nice equipment. So rather than asking everybody to pony up big time and contribute to the pot, we're using this program provided by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which is a semi-government entity of the state of Michigan. And they've partnered with an organization called Patronicity, which is based in Detroit, Michigan. Patronicity offers a platform where you can obtain funding for certain projects using crowdfunding. So we've prepared a proposal for them. It's a brief description of our organization. It has our mission statement, our vision, what we plan to offer, type of equipment we're planning to offer, what the acquisition cost for this equipment will be, so we'll have a bottom line budget. And we offer this program will be launched. It's a 60-day window maximum for crowdfunding. So when we begin our, what do we call that? The funding stage, essentially. We want everybody to contribute funds through Patronicity at that time, because your dollars, provided we meet our goal, will be matched dollar for dollar by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So the maximum amount we can request through Patronicity is $50,000. So if we get $50,000 from the public, meaning businesses, individuals, gifts, whatever, the state of Michigan will add another 50 to the pot, and we'll have a $100,000 fund to work from. So we can use that for capital expenditures, building the space out properly, putting in ventilation, all those things that are necessary for a shop. There is a little catch with Patronicity. If we set our goal too high and we don't make it, we don't get the matching. So we have to be somewhat realistic in how many members we're going to be able to attract, how many people are going to contribute, and that type of thing. And the window is 60 days, so if we have to kind of compress all of our planning and all of our fundraising organization and have this program launch so that we maximize the attention on this program during that window so that we can maximize our fundraising capabilities.
And it's got multiple amounts. We're talking big numbers in total, but what was your minimum level that you had penciled in for that? Was it a 25, or there were some low numbers?
Oh, well, yes, there are. We put in different contribution ranges, so if you wanted to be a supporter, it was $10. There's a $25 level, there's a $50 level, $100, $250. So we provided a bunch. They all have nice little titles that go with them. So if you're a tinker or a thinker or a designer or a builder or an out-of-the-box person, which is $10,000 maybe? Maybe something like that. We'd love to meet you. Like to have you be here. So that will be launched. We'll have a website that we'll put on, or a link that we'll put on our website. There are some other administrative details that we have to comply with, because this is a government-funded grant, essentially. So they want to make sure that all of our ducks are lined up. And so we're in the midst of putting those ducks together, getting them all arranged. So stay tuned for that. That window will launch. Hopefully all the fireworks will go off in the city of Grand Rapids, and we'll be able to collect some money. Any questions on Patronicity? Yes, sir.
Does it have to be individuals who contribute?
No. They can be businesses or individuals or other organizations. I don't think we can take money from 501c3s though. We are a 501c3, and there's a regulation against other nonprofits supporting nonprofits. We have our solicitation license from the Attorney General of the State of Michigan. So if you wish to contribute some monies tonight at that $10 supporting level, Kayla here at the back has the ability to swipe a credit card. She'll probably take a check, and you have receipts for giving cash?
I can email one.
Okay. So we're able to take funding now. What we'll do is we'll take those funds under the patronicity program, we'll hold them, and then allocate them to the patronicity program when we launch it, so we can double those funds.
You want me to clarify any of those other levels? I know that those were more of a latecomer for your...
These these
yeah.
levels here?
So 100 Founders is just blatantly plagiarized from Nashville. Nashville Space launched with a 100 Founders program. The founder level of $1,000 we routed through patronicity. So we're keeping everything very contained, but there are different ways to participate. Because we know some people are a give us $10 tonight and don't know what they want to do. Some people are a sign up for a $10 early low-level membership that'll be $20 later. And you're grandfathered in for that $10 rate. If you're ready to commit and support this thing with $10 every month until you decide to retire from it, then you can get into that. And then there, of course, are sponsor levels that will sell to entities. You've probably already guessed that we want Founders Brewing probably to pay several $1,000s to have the Founders Wall. So that was very purposeful as a crossover. So there's going to be a lot of that activity in the background. But there are multiple ways to participate, and those other two are plugged into some of these, but they all work together. The underwriter is included when you see those slides cycle later while we're eating. You'll be able to see where underwriter lands on the memberships. That gives us something to leverage for sponsors. And so there's a whole bunch of ways to get in, because that's one of the key things being successful is you need to make it so that somebody's got a spare $5 they can participate, or if they're from a corporation they got a spare $5 grand or 50, they can also participate. So if there are any questions about how it's going to work, please feel free to ask us. We spent some time on that trying to figure out how to build it in the right way so that everybody can be involved at any level. But that's what those other two are about. Patronicity being the biggest front-end load to get the money in. And that next slide, which you'll see, is the Let's Go slide. You can scan it and donate right now.
So
They had a footprint or a form, essentially, that suggested how we outline our proposal. And then that, when we click the button with patronicity, it goes to a review panel with the organization who decides whether or not we satisfy their requirements. They have these requirements that the state requires before they can initiate the program. We intend to launch that in probably February, maybe as late as March. They indicated that the springtime is the best time for people who want to make contributions based on their track record. They've also determined that the best window is between 30 and 45 days, but 60 is the max. So we're looking to do this in the spring to see if we can get the best result possible. It all depends on when we get everything else together as a board. I mean, there are a lot of, this is not simply a pop-up organization, as I mentioned earlier. We want to make this a real viable and survivable program. So there's a lot of other planning we want to coordinate and have prepared in anticipation of that launch.
Anything else on your list?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention, that any money's collected, this is a totally volunteer organization. So it's either going to go for capital improvements, equipment, or for paying what little bills we have. Once we get into a space, there's going to be utility bills and everything else. But it's all going to be, funds are going to be directly applied to putting the rubber on the road, you know what I'm saying? Where there's no
No employees.
Was that,
No employees.
no employees, all volunteer. So everything will go into making the program a success. So.
And a quick reminder for those at home, we are going to make the slides of information available for you later on, as well as some videos, so.
Great.
Is there anything else I was supposed to cover at this
You
point?
hit all the bullets I sent you, I was checking behind you.
Yeah. I was trying to, that's why I was looking at my phone. I was like, I know you sent me a list.
So if you're interested in some of the language we're going to be using to get civic and education people behind us, that's going to be in the loops. When we turn the loops back on the screen while we mingle and eat and hang out, feel free to take a peek at that. If you have any light bulbs that go off, something that we should be saying to the world, please feel free to share. Now is the time for us to tweak that final messaging, and then we're going to start shaping these messages into stuff that we can tell to people that hopefully have either permissions to exist in different ways, buildings to give us, or money to give us.
Speaking of money to give us, Spartan Nash, your local family fair D&W stores, has a program. You wouldn't notice it unless you looked at the very end of their long receipt. They have a program where if you give your grocery store receipt to a nonprofit, and we accumulate those receipts, we can send them to Spartan Nash, and they will donate the total of the amount that's set out at the bottom of those receipts. So please keep all your Spartan Nash Family Fair receipts and give them to us, and we will turn those in and receive those funds, because we are a 501c3. Yes, Kayla?
We also have a program with Amazon. Because we're a 501c3, instead of logging into Amazon, if you log into Smile Amazon, you can actually name a charity. We are a charity. And so that when Amazon actually gives a very small percentage back to nonprofits. So it's Christmas time. I know there's a few people that might be ordering packages delivered by Amazon. So if you would consider that, instead of just logging into the Amazon, you use your same login, but you go to the Smile part, and then you name the Grand River Makerspace. And that gives a little bit too.
The Spartan Nash information just came to my attention today when I looked at the bottom of my receipt. So I intend to, well, I just mentioned it publicly, so I think it should go on the website.
Just more people can see it.
Yeah.
We can put it on the Discord too.
Yep.
Or mention on Discord, and then we'll flesh out this whole Amazon Smile thing. I'm sure a lot of you probably are already giving something through Amazon Smile. So, let's see, is there any questions at this point? Oh, no, I didn't expect that.
You can call on the one.
Go ahead.
Who amongst you would be the lead on donations? So let's say, so the treasurer. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, how about the pitch? If somebody needs to make the pitch of the value that this adds to the community, because one person can write a $50,000 check if you spend all your effort in this.
One of the next things you're going to see from us is a pitch deck
Okay.
that uses a lot of the messaging you're seeing tonight, which is why this is the last chance for the community input on did we miss something. We made some very deliberate uses of words, things that we want to be pinged in Google when people look us up, so that we can use those words to tweak the interest of civic leaders and chambers of commerce and those kinds of places. And that's part of the effort, will be the pitch deck there. But really, we can whittle that down. I'd be interested in, if anybody has a line of finance that Barry can feed into Patronicity or Kyla can feed into the bank account, and it needs a specific slide in a pitch deck, and all you need is 5 minutes of my time, believe me, I've got 5 minutes for you. So,
Are you looking for the elevator pitch?
No, I'm not looking for it. I'm just saying if say I can get you guys a meeting, who would be the one making the pitch? Because you need somebody who
Polished.
inspires confidence.
Right.
Those two.
it's going to depend on who it is. If it's
Sure.
Grand Rapids City, depending on what it is, I'll set these guys up to do that, because I have a few of my own threads and they're not all positive. But if it's Granville, Kyla's already got a foot in the door here. So there's a lot of different little places where we use our relationships to the best of our ability.
Perfect.
And, go ahead.
Okay. Unrelated to that, maybe there's room for like people who, downtown GR has in their space test kitchens, or people who are like interested in like making eventually their own restaurant
Right, and
or
marketplace.
something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe it'd be an opportunity, like in a space to have at least a small test kitchen, so like members can utilize something like that.
That's a cool idea. I like it.
But in that way, we
Could fall into the fire and insurance part, but we'll work on
Oh,
that.
sure, yeah.
Well, and one of the other things that we've talked about is pop-ups. We don't intend for all of us in this room to sit here and do nothing for the next 6 months in the way of making and doing. So that may be a place for a partnership with the downtown market to say, hey, you know, we want to team up and do an experimental night on cooking training, you know, whatever that is, as a maker event. So we're talking about a lot of pop-ups, we're talking about a lot of meetups, a lot of shops that already have makey things going on that we could all come into and feed some interest, and even if they're doing like a discounted class thing, we would channel that into the members. So that's one of the reasons to go ahead and jump in with that basic membership, because you're association and you get that workshop and class thing as a benefit.
Things are pretty fluid right now, and we have been in, other people have expressed interest in partnering with the organization to offer different unrelated services, and I seem to recall one of them may have been a kitchen.
Well, downtown market had that open space they wanted us to rent,
Yeah,
but that was way too pricey.
yeah,
Yeah.
That was-
Downtown market.
that's right.
That
Downtown
was
market's
pricey
expensive.
just to park there, so, yeah, that kinda-
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess long-term wise, you had mentioned that you've been talking with other spaces in the area. Do you guys have an idea of how many active members you're targeting to meet long-term goals and short-term goals?
Okay, well, that Lakeshore Fab Lab, last time I talked to Chris, they've got like between 78 and 90 members total. Well, like I said, they've got a big advantage over us because they've got Muskegon Community College, and there's some people with some money out there who apparently have funded that Fab Lab out there. The only shortcoming I see of the Fab Lab, I mean, it's great. I go out there probably once a month. I was going out like every week, but because of my schedule change, I haven't been able to get out there. But they don't really have any real woodworking going on out there. They've got the shop lot, which is cool, because it's a 8x4 CNC, but they have, that's pretty much it for their woodworking out there. They have no metalworking, no welding, no any of that stuff.
They had the plasma cutter.
So
They have a plasma cutter.
So with the goals in mind in terms of equipment and tools, is there an idea of like member quantity that you're trying to target without overpopulating the space?
Yeah.
That's one of the sliding scale challenges, right? Like
Right.
what is the space and what can we accommodate? But also, where is the space will come into.
Exactly.
That's where I started bugging these guys when I first showed up for the board was, well, what's the footprint gonna be? What do we think our location's gonna be? Because that decides how much you can siphon off.
Right.
You know, if you're on the east side of Grand Rapids, it could have a lot to do with who you target and bring in. So I think both of those are dynamic influences. I kind of wanted to plug a number in here that I could use from Nashville. I don't remember. I think it's about a 60-person space, if I remember correctly.
Santa Fe Makerspace has 5,000 square feet. They have a full wood shop, a full metal shop, a 3D printing lab, an education lab, a hot space for metal casting, glass slumping, the whole space. They have between, and it varies because people are transient, they come and go in these spaces. So it ranges between 60 and 110 members. They pay $75 a month for the month that they want to use the space. There is no daily fee. So, you know, and it's another nonprofit, so everything that they make has to go to support the organization. Rent, electricity, insurance, machines, replacement parts for the machines, consumables, toiletries, kitchen. So it really depends on what we can provide is what we need to support us. The more we provide, the more we're going to need to support it. And people come and go, so at 110 members, the laser cutter, certain machines were scheduled, you had to book in advance, so that everybody got a little equal time. And so I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, well, like the Fab Lab is only open 4 days a week. During the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're open from 1 to 7. And then Saturday, they have, 10 to 2, I believe. So we're hoping, once we get rolling, having 2 days, that are pretty solid. I'd like to see it be beyond 1 to 7, because that's, to me, that's kind of limiting, especially if you got a job.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see it go later into the night. But, we're going to have to build on that too. And hopefully we'll be able to expand into, some days a week and
Right. Depends upon key
how many
card
volunteers.
members that you
Right,
have
right.
and
Yep,
their
go ahead.
Yeah, so like based on that conversation, something I remember while going to college in Grand Rapids was like I went to Kendall College of Art Design, and yes, the school was open for a certain amount of time, into the night, but the shop was not. I remember always like having lack of access to the shop as a student.
That brings up something, I haven't heard from Kendall specifically, but we've heard from Grand Valley State University and GRCC, and both of them have programs that they say if we get open and get this thing running, that they would be willing to actually pay for exiting students to have a membership at the Makerspace for so long as, because they're, like you said, they can't come back and use machines that they were just, taught to use.
Right.
So both of their programs are willing, once we get up and running, to actually pay for memberships for a couple months at the Makerspace and to give the people, somewhere to go and maybe get. A big part of this, hopefully, is going to be networking, right? When we talk about the incubator part of it, that's what we're talking about, is individuals with different skill sets meeting each other and kind of hashing it out and hopefully making something that may turn into a business even, So that's a big part of it. I mean, that's why makerspaces are kind of a community resource, right? During the pandemic, a lot of the makerspaces stepped up to make, face shields and everything else for the hospitals and whatever else. I mean, who knows what emergencies maybe down the road for us that a makerspace might pan out to be able to help out, So I think it needs to be a community resource here in Grand Rapids. And we must talk a little bit about the former makerspaces that were here. Steve and Kyla and a few others were part of the Grand Rapids Makers off of Hall Street.
Yep.
Yeah, and from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, it's kind of like a passion project for the guy, and apparently he lost his passion somewhere along the way, so that. But they were at that time competing with the Geek Group, and the Geek Group, they kept their membership very low, which, like, so we're trying to make it as economical as possible. But I think, well, Chris tried to run everybody else out of business one way or another, to be honest. So we're trying to stay away from that. And unfortunately, those two, not that experience, but the Geek Group experience, kind of put a sour taste in some of the, foundations and stuff around town. So
It comes up
Yeah.
almost every time I talk to somebody.
Yeah, we're having to fight that too. That's why I'm like, this is gonna be totally open.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna have.
You play the long game with those parties.
Yeah.
You show it, you prove it, you know, you're not a reincarnation of previous parties.
I think, I mean, there are makerspaces amongst every other city of any size in Michigan, and I think the other ones more or less are being run.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, Kalamazoo's
well.
got the Kazoo makers, Muskegon's got, you know, the Lakeshore Fab Lab. Flint's got like 3 of them, but the primary, like, open one is Factory 2, which is 37,000 square feet, I believe. I mean, they got a big facility. But, you know how much they pay for that building? They pay $1 a year. So they've got
But just
some
so
better-
you know, I've already expressed, like, I want somebody to give us a space for 2 to 5 years for free. Like, that's the goal. The entry level offer to me is 0. But that's why we had to have the pitch.
But,
Yeah.
I don't want to cut us off. I don't want the pizza to get cold. We've got
Yeah.
mingle and eat time, and we would be happy to entertain questions. Pat, I remember something that you forgot that I forgot.
what's that?
Recruitment. So we have enough slots for how many on the board?
Well, so the board right now, we pointed out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is Gina. So we actually.
And Nick, what did he resign?
Yeah, so we have
So
7.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of transition because
Right.
we've got some people with new life occurrences, like Nick had twins.
Right.
So there may be space, and if you are interested in the board to have a conversation with this guy, because we
Right.
want a robust, knowledgeable, energetic
And we're trying to keep
group
it
of people.
kind of diverse, and just by coincidence, we ended up with all these damn GR maker guys. I mean, no, I'm just saying, we want to make it, you know, representative of the membership. And we're trying to outreach to different groups too in the city to make it so that it's, you know, represents Grand Rapids a little bit better. So anyways, you guys can eat your virtual pizza over there. And we'll get you guys, let's get the pizzas.
Yeah, it's time for pizza, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for coming. And let's chow down and continue chatting, and if anything pops up, just grab one of us, and we'll be happy to chat.
Good, thank you.